The Philippines is preparing for conflict with China in the South China Sea. Tensions between the two countries are rising. The Philippines is working closely with the United States, strengthening its military presence in the region and modernizing its armed forces. This is happening against a backdrop of rising tensions in the region, which will have serious consequences for international stability and global trade. The South China Sea is a source of conflict because of competing claims to its resources. Several countries, including China, the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan, have claims to various parts of the body of water, which is rich in natural resources. The Philippines controls 9 outposts in the Spratly Archipelago, including Second Thomas Shoal, where it has placed the BRP ship Sierra Madre as a clear symbol of its sovereignty. China also claims the shoal and is blocking Manila's efforts to resupply the ship, leading to tensions. Chinese boats are ramming Philippine supply ships and pelting them with water cannons, leading to dangerous incidents at sea. These actions are putting Filipino seafarers in danger and undermining international maritime law and regional stability. Relations with China in the area have never been as volatile as they have been in the past few months. Alliance with the U.S. The Philippines has solidified its alliance with the U.S. by signing a mutual defense treaty that also covers the South China Sea. The United States has been granted expanded access to military bases in the Philippines as part of this alliance. This allows the U.S. to better monitor Chinese activities and strengthen its military presence in the region. The agreement allows the U.S. to use 4 additional sites in the Philippines in accordance with the 2014 Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, EDCA. This agreement is part of Washington's larger strategy to close the arc of allies around China. It includes cooperation with Japan, South Korea, and Australia. This move is Washington's way of strengthening its influence in the region and countering Beijing's growing aggression. During Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin's visit to Manila, the Philippines also announced that the U.S. will provide an additional $82 million in infrastructure investment in the existing 5 sites under the EDCA. The agreement allows the U.S. to conduct joint exercises, pre-deploy equipment, and build infrastructure such as runways, fuel tanks, and quarters for troops. However, it does not ensure a permanent U.S. military presence. Modernize the armed forces. The Philippines is modernizing its armed forces with an ambitious $35 billion program that includes the purchase of modern military equipment. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has approved a wish list of major military procurements worth an estimated $35 billion to be spent over the next 10 years. This is part of an ongoing military modernization program that began in 2012. However, the need to boost defense capabilities has become more acute during the Marcos presidency, which has taken a tougher stance toward China than his predecessor. The Philippines has already made several major purchases in recent years, including a $375 million deal for BrahMos cruise missiles from India. These missiles, known for their precision and effectiveness, will significantly enhance the Philippines' defense capabilities. Furthermore, the Philippines has signed several major contracts with South Korea's Hyundai Heavy Industries shipyard, including for a pair of Jose Rizal-class frigates already in service, as well as 6 maritime patrol vessels and 2 missile corvettes to be delivered over the next few years. The total cost of these vessels is approximately $1 billion. Despite this flurry of activity, if the defense modernization program were actually increased to $35 billion over 10 years, it would represent a significant increase over current and historical levels. To provide some context, defense modernization, which is paid for from a special fund that is legally separate from the budget of the Department of National Defense, has been allocated 40 billion pesos in 2024. That's about $694 million at the current exchange rate. In 2023, it was $477 million. The government must increase spending significantly and quickly to reach its goal of spending $35 billion. Economic challenges. Implementation of the modernization plans faces economic challenges. Despite projected growth, the Philippine economy is struggling with a budget deficit and high borrowing costs. Budget planners expect the economy to grow by 6.5 to 7% in 2024. This is not impossible, as growth in the first quarter of 2024 was 5.7%, but the target has been revised downward several times, and it seems likely that the final figure could be around 6%. Slower growth and higher borrowing costs will put pressure on government finances. The 2024 budget projected a budget deficit of 5% of GDP, based, of course, on the expectation that central banks, led by the U.S. Federal Reserve, would begin to ease interest rates and lower borrowing costs this year. Now it looks like that's not going to happen, and the Fed is likely to keep interest rates steady for some time. Geopolitical consequences. Tensions in the South China Sea have broad geopolitical implications. The Philippines-U.S. alliance is part of Washington's larger strategy, which includes cooperation with Japan, South Korea, and Australia, creating an arc of allies around China. Thus, any conflict in the region could draw other powers, such as the United States and its allies, into direct confrontation with China. The South China Sea is considered one of Asia's most explosive hotspots. China claims almost the entire body of water as its own territory, which conflicts with the claims of the Philippines and several other countries to certain areas of the sea. In 2016, an international tribunal challenged China's claims and agreed with the Philippines, but Beijing did not recognize the ruling. Despite this, China has continued to push forward, building artificial islands and military installations in the disputed areas. China is not the only country seeking to consolidate its influence in the region. The United States and its allies also conduct regular naval patrols in the South China Sea to ensure freedom of navigation and to counter Chinese actions. These patrols are often seen as a show of support for countries in the region, such as the Philippines, that are directly involved in territorial disputes with China. Political and social reactions. The Philippines-China policy has also been the subject of domestic political controversy. President Marcos Jr. has taken a more confrontational stance toward Beijing than his predecessor, Rodrigo Duterte, who sought to strengthen ties with China to attract investment and economic assistance. Duterte was criticized for his approach, which some say weakened the Philippines' position in territorial disputes. The current administration has sought to balance relations with China and the United States, but maintaining that balance has become increasingly difficult amid rising tensions. Marcos Jr. has repeatedly stressed that the Philippines is ready to defend its sovereignty and national interests, but also seeks to avoid open conflict with Beijing. Philippine society is also divided over relations with China. Many Filipinos fear Chinese expansion and favor a closer alliance with the U.S., but there are also those who believe that a more pragmatic approach, such as that espoused by Duterte, can bring greater economic benefits. International reactions. The international community is closely monitoring developments in the South China Sea. The European Union, Japan, Australia, and others have expressed concern about Chinese actions and stressed the need for a peaceful resolution of territorial disputes in accordance with international law. The United States, a key ally of the Philippines, has repeatedly assured Manila of its support and commitment to defend it if attacked. Looking ahead. The situation in the South China Sea remains uncertain. The Philippines continues its efforts to modernize its armed forces and strengthen alliances with other countries to counter Chinese actions. At the same time, Manila is trying to maintain channels of dialogue with Beijing, hoping for a peaceful resolution of territorial disputes. In the short term, we can expect more incidents at sea, especially in areas such as the Second Thomas Shoal, where Chinese and Philippine interests are most at odds. In the long term, the key challenge will be to strike a balance between defending sovereignty and avoiding open conflict with China. Thank you for watching the video. Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. See you next video.